In Zimbabwe, they had the opposite problem, so there's not enough money. So you'd go into Zimbabwe and you'd buy something, and if it cost you $1.95, they didn't have the 5p to give you change. So YoTime came along and said, just top up people's accounts. And now all the retailers in Zimbabwe use this. If you go in and you're due change of less than 50p, they top up your phone with the change. And everybody's happy with that. No problem. They digitized the value there. Personalization, proximity, and the loss of physicality. First, personalization. Everyone wants to treat the red ball as if they're special and different from all the black balls, even though they're largely the same. You have been chipped. Whether you know it or not, your SIM is unique to you on the planet. It is a global identifier. No matter where you are, it's unique to you. The international standard bank account identifier is different in every EU country. Your Google search, we were discussing this last night, your Google search, whether you realize it or not, is unique to you. If we sat side by side on our computers and searched the same exact term, the results are different. So we've already entered a phase where personalization has gone completely unique. There's a lot of Dilbert in here because it's relevant, and I find it very amusing too. So this is an infographic from the Mobile Marketing Association, and I don't have time to go through everything, but there are a few things I want to call out. So one is here, mobile is becoming the connective tissue, very, very biological term, of nearly every aspect of life, making it the most personal and the most pervasive media in history. That's 100% true. So in terms of media, mobile's past everything else. I mean, radio, TV, internet, PC, whatever. As a media platform, it is definitely the most pervasive. I'd love to meet who wrote this. Only 6% take calls or texts during sex. I'm like, only? I'm not sure that's the right word. 1 in 4 mobile users admit that they're addicted. If you go to the under 30s, it's 1 in 3, completely addicted to their device. Makes perfect sense, right? The device surrounds the individual. It's their searches, their calendars, their location, their purchases, their interests, but most importantly, it's their social graph. There's a phenomenon that you've already forgotten about, which doesn't exist anymore, which is, can I borrow your phone? That's gone. Used to be, yeah, no problem, here's my phone. Now, PIN protected, but even if I open the PIN for you, who knows what messages are gonna pop up, what pictures are there. It's way too personal. Like, there's no way, it's like, can I share your underwear? Like, no, you can't. Like, you can't have my phone to use it. Nobody does that anymore, it's gone. There's even, and this is a great quote. This, Nancy Gibbs is the Time magazine cover that I showed you. She's the managing editor. She said, it's hard to think of any tool, any instrument, any object in history with which so many developed so close a relationship so quickly as we have with our phones. She wrote, money is inert compared to a smartphone. Completely right. It's even got to the level where we have psychological disorders. So there's a disease called nomophobia, and there are people on sofas talking to therapists about it, like, I woke up, I couldn't find my phone. So it's gotten pretty serious, obviously. Proximity and the loss of physicality. So we kind of forget that this was the bank. The bank was about bars and vaults and securing physical money. And it was in the city. So to go to the bank, you went into the city, and this is what it looked like, okay? And the whole thing was just to give you the impression that if you physically gave them your money, they would physically protect it. Then we moved on, and we had, I love this picture, because this is what the initial wave of branches looked like. Like, we're still a bank, we've got pillars, even though we're next to the laundromat. Like, and just, again, about physicality, about protecting physical funds. And eventually branches, they're like, yeah, we're financial services. There's no bars. You don't even know where the vault is in here. It's not about that. It's about taking care of your financial services. So moving from city to town, and eventually closer to the ATM. So now you're within always a few blocks of your money and your bank access, and then into your living room, as we all know, with internet banking. And everyone expects it's going to go fully into your pocket. And that loss of physicality and the proximity, so getting closer to the user and losing the physical stuff, is a trend that's inevitable. And this is actually, I think this is true today, even though it's supposed to be an estimate for 2016. Use your mobile 20 to 30 times a month. These are bank interactions. Web tablet 7 to 10 times. ATM, you're still going to need cash, as I said, 3 to 5 times a month. Call centers, and then you go to a branch once or twice a year. Talk about something serious. I need to refinance my house. I need to pay for my kids' college or whatever it is. It's all about proximity and location. These are people checking in with Foursquare. to the location. And everyone expects that cash is going to be fully into the phone. And there's a fantastic quote from Brett King. He wrote Bank 2.0. Actually, he just released Bank 3.0, just came out, which I love this. The bank is no longer a place you go. Banking has become something you do. Instead of looking for a place to store your money, we'll look for a trusted brand that is safe, but equally important, offers strong utility and seamless connection to the things we do with our money. A bank that demands or prefers a physical interaction will increasingly be avoided instinctively as too hard to work with, irrelevant to my daily life, and as slow and unwieldy. Again, speed being essential to this whole thing. Brett put his money where his mouth is. He launched Movin' Bank in New York, which is a mobile-first bank. They actually don't even issue cards or checks. And they use your social media presence to evaluate your creditworthiness. So they do a thing called a cred score, which basically is looking at your social media presence and your tweeting and your Facebook and et cetera. And, well, if you're friends with criminals, they take some indication from that. Here's a bit more on their cred score. They reward you for good saving behavior and social influence. There's another thing called Signify, which is piloting in Brazil. In Brazil, the traditional credit scoring that we're used to, they don't have. They don't have a history to look at, but they have a lot of top-ups of your phone and a lot of usage of your voice and your data and your texts. And so they use that as a proxy for credit scoring, and it's actually fairly accurate. It actually is a good way to sort of credit score people to see how reliable they are, which is interesting. Asset heavy. So Mary Meeker, who you probably have heard of, she was an analyst, a Wall Street analyst, and now is a partner at Kleiner Perkins, and she does a phenomenal presentation. And one aspect of it is about asset heavy lifestyles versus asset light lifestyles, and it's around space, time, and money. The asset heavy versus asset light can be summed up in the difference between access and ownership. So having access to resources versus having ownership of resources. And when you look at money, when she did it asset heavy versus asset light, the old world is about wallets and cash and coins and credit cards and physically holding things. The new world asset light is everything's in the device. Everything's digitized, and I get access to my utilities through the device as opposed to having it physically with me. Simplicity and value. Simple use cases are what's winning, and we'll talk a bit more about apps in a second, but I threw the Oyster card up here so we did a trial at RBS where we put a Oyster card and a payments card into a Nokia 6310, and we gave it out to Imperial College students. And they just love it. It's completely simple. You take one device, you can pay, you can travel, you can call and be connected. My wife's a great example. So I gave her the phone in the beginning. I said, hey, we're doing this trial. If you'd like to be part, you can. And she looked at it and she was like, kind of an ugly phone, which it was. It was like a black and silver. It was a phone designed by men for men. Like, it was ugly. And she's like, but I'll try it. At the end of the trial, I could not get it out of her hands. Because to grab one thing and go is very convenient. It's very simple, very easy to use. And yet, deep value propositions is the other axis. So if simplicity is on one axis, then the value proposition in terms of depth is on the other axis. I'm sure you've heard of M-Pesa in Kenya. I'm not going to dig into details here. In fact, I don't have time to walk through the whole chart, but the growth has been ridiculous. They've got almost 18 million customers in a population of 38 million. Everyone who issues a bill, so this was a cash-based economy. In the old world, if I got a bill, the way to pay it was I'd queue up with cash and I'd pay the bill, or I'd hire someone to queue up with cash. Now I get a text message that says, do you want to pay your bill? Yes. So, who's not going to sign up for that? I don't have time to go into all the details about M-Pesa, but it's incredible. This is what happens when the rules are bent a little bit. So M-Pesa started before anyone really knew what was going on, and it took off like wildfire. When they tried to launch next door in Tanzania, they launched with a dozen competitors, so they all have a small share of market. When they tried to launch in India, the Reserve Bank of India said, nah, you need to be a bank to do that in our country. When they tried to launch in Afghanistan, it's a bit of a mix of both regulation and competition. So it's kind of one of those perfect scenarios there. The amazing thing is this, and I actually found it's gone up. So over 60% of Kenyan GDP is running through an unregulated payment system run by a mobile operator. It's unregulated because they got a letter from the Kenyan government early on that said, you will not be regulated as a bank. Thank you for helping us with financial inclusion. And it's still not regulated. Vodafone has chosen to regulate it themselves, self-regulate it under UK law. But there's no Kenyan law that's enforcing that. Shocking, really interesting. And if you want to learn more about that, we can talk about it. Hyperconnectivity and user interfaces. This is incredible. So we've entered a hyperconnected world, which has really changed everything. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, when people today say internet, you in this room tend to mean computer, laptop, but the reality is it's mobile already. So kids, when they say internet or network or web, they already mean mobile. That happened in 2010. It's going even greater in 2015. This is the wireless generation. They expect full connectivity all the time, 24/7. If you want to have some fun, tell someone under 25 that you used to pick up people at the airport without a phone. Like no one had a phone. And they just look at you and go, I don't, well, how? Yeah, but, or just tell them like you used to make a plan for the next day and keep it. And they just look at you like, what, huh? But that's where they live. They live in a world where plans evolve all the time. I'm en route, I'm late, I'm coming, let's meet here instead. There's no such thing as I'll see you at noon at this street corner. That doesn't exist. That makes no sense. This isn't the web to them. This is the web. It doesn't matter whether it's a television screen or a computer screen or a tablet or whatever. It's everywhere. And really, this is where the web is going. And we're going to talk about this a little bit further later on in terms of the Internet of Things and what's happening there. We're here. We're early on. Tablets, smartphones have already passed. Personal computers are leveling off and predicted to be decreasing over time as a usable platform. So what is hyperconnectivity? It's about information asymmetries. And it's about information asymmetries going away. It's about everyone being fully informed. I don't have time to do three, so somebody pick. Indian fishermen, Kenyan farmers, or Pakistani barbers. Which would you like to hear about? Barbers, so Pakistani barbers. So in Pakistan, if I wanted a haircut pre-mobile phone, I went to the center of whatever village, city, town I was in, and all the barbers were there, and the vast majority of the barber's revenue went to the municipality for rent of the stall in the center of town. Mobiles came out, and an industrious barber put on the side of his scooter, text me, and I'll meet you wherever you want. I'll come to your house, I'll come to your office, I'll meet you on a street corner. Now in Pakistan, there are no haircuts in the center of any village, city, anywhere. They all happen in personalized locations. Now all the revenue goes to the barber. Classic information asymmetry. Need a haircut, give a haircut. There was a person who used to clear that functionality, and now it clears directly. All of them are similar to that, and that's what hyperconnectivity is about. And when I talk to bankers, I'm like, let's be clear. Have money, need money. Like deposits, lending, clearing function in the middle. That's already being disrupted. Look at Zopa in the UK. People are loaning directly to and they know who they're loaning to too, and they like it. I want to know that I'm loaning Mike for his business to grow his business. Like that, all of this hyperconnectivity stuff is happening globally. It's incredible. Then it was brick and mortar branches and papers and applications and lengthy approvals. Now I go online to a lending club. Lower interest rates, returns directly. It's a direct connection between people. I put this up because William Gibson, he's a famous sci-fi author who said the future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed. When he said that, that was true. You went to the developed world and it was very futuristic, and then as you came down the economies, the future seemed less and less so, and they were kind of living in the past. Mobile has changed that. Mobile has flattened that curve tremendously. It's brought a whole mass of more people to the future much more rapidly. It's about dramatically improving an individual's ability to earn a living. It's the capability to earn more to keep you and your family alive. And it's this. Everything is smooth, slick, slippery, and very fast. This is the great opportunity of the present moment. It's the interface that removes all frictions from business transactions. The future belongs to the hyperconnected. It's an open global community with massive disruptive effects. The source here, it's a great site. It's called The Next Billion Seconds. Quick calculation, billion seconds is about 30 years. So they're looking out for the next few decades and what's happening.